Empty wishes. The night was as black as Jacob's heart, with no hope of light, and the sky began to weep like Mark for the loss of his mother. The two brothers raced down the back roads, winding around every turn, not caring how bad the rain was. Jacob was behind the wheel driving as he looked on with a determined look of bad intentions. Mark gripped his seat with the hopes of this being the worst part of the night. The 1950 Ford pickup slashed its way through the muddy roads, leaving a hateful trail in its wake. Finally, the two came to a halt, with the headlights peering into a single plane, the new gravestone that just read the last name, Richmond. Jacob climbed out of the truck and slammed the door, not caring how loud he was. He knew no one could hear him from this far from civilization and amongst the cracking thunder. He began to walk over to the slab, towering over it, looking back at Mark, asking, "So is this where they buried the old bitch? Yeah, you would know if you came to her funeral." Mark exclaimed while wiping back what looked like tears, but stated that it was just the rain. Jacob stood there as if waiting for a confrontation and stared down at the grave with a look of disgust. He then spit on the engraving, muttering, "Cunt." Jacob grew even more irate the longer he stared at the grave, with his body trembling to the rhythm of the sky. His mind broke free from its eternal struggle, and he snapped, yelling for Mark to go to the truck and grab the shovels. Mark scurried off to the Ford, fearing not to be on the receiving end of Jacob's rage. Mark then handed him a shovel, asking, "Are you sure you really want to do this? Let's go to work. I want that fucking necklace." Jacob took his shovel and struck into the wet flesh of the earth, hearing the thunder clap as if cheering on his behavior. He began digging furiously as his hands bled from choking the worn handle of his shovel. With every inch deeper, his mood shifted and grew, but Mark couldn't tell if it was hatred or excitement. He looked back at Mark, who was in shock of the very act he was witnessing. "What the hell are you doing? Start digging." Mark was hesitant at first, but he felt Jacob's eyes peer through him. He knew he had to listen to his brother, fearing the night may not end according to plan. While the two followed a harmonic pace, sinking deeper and deeper, Jacob began cackling. "I can't believe that fucking bitch didn't leave me anything. I mean, I'm her first child, and I didn't even get a cent. Even Cousin Rob was mentioned in the will, but her 2 sons get shit. How is that right? She had millions, and somehow none of it found its way to us, so that fucking diamond necklace she was buried with is the least she owes me. I can't believe you're not as mad as I am right now. Are you really that pathetic?" "Well, I don't know. I just miss her. At least you were able to spend the last few months with her. It was really kind of you to take care of her like that. Yes, a real fucking picnic dealing with her old ass. She was disgusting and selfish. I mean, even how long it took her to die. Selfish. Just plain selfish. I thought being there at the end would for sure get me on the will, but no. She still had to be selfish and leave nothing. You're lucky you weren't there. You didn't have to put up with her bullshit and then find out after everything you weren't getting any of it." "Well, I would have loved to be able to be there and spend time with her. Money was the last thing on my mind. I just wanted to be with her. All I could do was just help bury her. I loved Mom." "Oh, that's so weak. Just keep digging." "You don't feel sad at all?" "No, I'm glad she's dead. I could dance right now." The rain continued throughout the night, with the thunder deafening the two's exerted grunts. As the brothers continued into the grave, Jacob grew with anticipation, knowing how close he was to some form of repayment. As he kept striking the soil, finally it pushed back. It was the casket. He turned and shoved Mark out of the hole, yelling, "Go get the ladder so I don't have to climb out of this slop." Mark climbed out of the grave, rushing to the truck. Jacob began frantically scraping the mud off the casket. The sky seemed to grow louder and louder the closer it was to being opened. When everything was all cleared off, a grim smile arose from his face. He flung open the lid and shined his flashlight to find inside nothing but a letter. Jacob looked on in confusion and quickly grabbed the letter, which read, "My dearest Mark, I've written this letter to say my final goodbye. You have always been my favorite and have always made me proud. You were always the good one out of you and your brother. I want you to know that I love you and always will. I know that you will grow into the man that I always knew you would become. My only wish is that you find the strength to stand up for yourself and not let your brother control you. So this is why I need to tell you and only you this secret. When your brother Jacob came to visit me, that was when I began to grow ill. He attempted to act like he was at my care, bringing me all my meals and keeping me in bed, but during his time here, he would keep subtly bringing up my will and see who would benefit. As time went by, I kept growing sicker, and by the time I discovered why, it was too late. I have learned that Jacob had slowly been poisoning my food to make it seem that it was just my body giving up in my old age. When I found out, it was too late to change the inevitable. So I ask you to stand up to your brother and do what you feel is necessary. I know you will make me proud. Love, Mom. Jacob could not believe what he read, with his lips uttering the late words over and over. It finally clicked, and he then began to understand his surroundings. Jacob understood why the grave had only the last name, and why Mark had to show him where to go, since Jacob didn't attend the funeral. The air grew quiet, and now only the flashes in the sky gave any sense of life. He turned around to see Mark's silhouette from the headlights, and found himself looking down the barrel of a revolver. Mark looked down into the grave with a confident silence as he pulled back the hammer. The sky echoed from a single shot as the night continued on with bad intentions.